Good morning. Welcome to your 65th annual meeting of Hill County Electric. Before we start, I'd like everybody to give Mary Stevens a round of applause. She's been playing the harp up here. That's Rick's wife. We really do appreciate it, Mary. Thank you very much. We'll have Stu give us the invocation.
We bow our heads. Heavenly Father, we give thanks to you, gracious Father, for the food that you are providing for us and your goodness and love. Grant that at all times we can recognize your loving kindness toward us and show our appreciation of all that we have received. Especially, we give thanks for the recent moisture you have provided. Lord, be with us all today at this annual meeting. Help us to remember that all things come only from you, including the electricity that's such a large part of our everyday life. We pray for safe travels home from this meeting for all. In Jesus' name, amen.
I would like you all to stand. We're going to say the Pledge of Allegiance, even though the flag's locked up. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would you stay standing for 1 minute? I would like to honor our past assistant, Cheryl Carlson. We'll have a moment of silence. Thank you very much. I do appreciate it. She was part of this cooperative for a lot of years. I do want to take this time to thank each and every one of you for taking out of your busy schedule and coming to this annual meeting. It means a lot to the board of directors that our membership show up because this is your cooperative. With that, I'd like to call on Lon Wade. He will determine if there's a quorum, and then he'll read the notice of the meeting.
Thanks, Fritz. Good morning, everybody. And we do have a quorum. We have 69 members this morning, so that's good. I, Lon Wade, being first duly sworn, state that I am the Secretary of Hill County Electric Cooperative, Inc. On May 5th, 2010, I mailed to each member of the association a notice of the annual meeting of the members to be held May 15th, 2010. I deposited such notice with postage prepaid and addressed to each member in United States mail, and the copy attached to this affidavit is a true and correct copy of the notice of such annual meeting as mailed. Lon Wade, Secretary. The 65th annual meeting of members of Hill County Electric Cooperative Incorporated of Havre, Montana will be held on Saturday, May 15th, 2010 in the dining room of the Student Union building on the campus of Montana State University Northern in Havre, Montana to take action on the following matters: the election of one trustee of the cooperative, passing upon reports of officers, trustees, and committees for the year 2009, transacting such other business as may come before the meeting and any adjournments thereof. In connection with the election of one trustee scheduled for this meeting, the following member has been nominated for the trustee position by the Committee on Nominations pursuant to the bylaws. District 1, Lon Wade. Additional nominations for trustees may be made at the meeting. The person or persons whom this notice is addressed indicates the name in which the membership is carried. Voting must be done by the member, or in the case of joint membership, by only one of the joint members. Registration for the business meeting begins at 8:30 a.m. in the MSU Northern Student Union building. The business meeting will begin at 10 a.m. and a buffet lunch will begin immediately following the meeting. Lon Wade, Secretary and Treasurer. Date, April 30th, 2010.
Thank you, Lon. Next everybody should have got a copy of the minutes. Are there any alterations or corrections to the minutes, or do you want the minutes read to you? You want to make a motion to dispense with the reading of the minutes? There is a motion. Is there a second? There's a second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, the same sign. So carried. Now, are there any alterations or corrections? Did anybody seen in them? If not, it's in order to have a motion to approve the minutes as presented. There is a motion. Is there a second? There is a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Those opposed, the same sign. So carried. The minutes will stand approved then as presented. Next, I'd like to call on Kevan Campbell to do the scholarships.
Do you want to present the ones that are here first and then do the luck of the draw? Okay. Just in case they win, they might stay up here for both. Good morning. We do have a few of our scholarship recipients here, so we're going to ask them to come forward when we call their name and receive their certificate. We do have two that received scholarships from Hill County Electric this year, but were not able to attend. And so I'd like to read a thank you letter from Abigail Ida. Abigail received the $1,000 scholarship from Basin Electric Power Cooperative that went to a member's dependent. And as you'll see, Abigail's very busy, and that's why she's not with us today. It says, Dear Mr. Stevens and the trustees, thank you so much for choosing me as a recipient for the 2010 Basin Electric Power Cooperative Scholarship. She got it all in there. Words cannot express how grateful I am for this scholarship. I have chosen to attend Montana State University, Bozeman in the fall. Go Cats, sorry. So the money will go to tuitions and fees. Thank you. I am honored to be invited to HCE annual meeting to accept my scholarship, but on May 15th, I will be in Butte for a high school softball tournament. My parents cannot attend as they will be in Denver attending my brother's college graduation that weekend. So thank you again for choosing me. And that's Abigail Ida. So we do have a couple of our scholarship and special youth with us. So I'm going to call up first Jordan Bruff. And Jordan was selected this year to receive one of our Hill County Electric Workforce Development Scholarships. We offer one for a student who is, you can come over here. Do you want to present this to him? One is offered to a student who's going to MSU Northern in the electrical engineering and technology program to be an electrician. And the other we offer is for lineman school. This year, Jordan is our recipient of the MSU Northern. Jordan, did you want to say anything or? Just a big thank you, huh?
Yeah, just thanks to everybody. Thanks for the chance for me to get this scholarship. It's going to help a lot.
I have to say that Jordan was also an applicant last year, so he is in his second year. Well, he will be in his second year, and he's doing very, very well. So nice that you got a scholarship, and we know that you're going to do good things. One of the other scholarship recipients isn't with us today, but, and I don't have his thank you letter, but we will be printing that with all of our scholarship recaps, so you can see who won. We do have two rural youth tour people that we would like to honor. Oh, there it is from Scott Durga. First of all, last year, our ambassador was Daniel Bitts. Daniel, are you with us today? This year, the board has selected Miss Jordan Spiker, and Jordan, I believe, is from the Red Yard area. She will be spending a week in Washington, D.C. as part of the youth tour constituency from Montana, and she'll be joining about 1,500 other students. And that'll be a wonderful experience. We'll probably see her at next year's annual meeting, and she can tell us about her experience then. So there was one other scholarship recipient that said a thank you, and I'll just read that. This is from Scott Durga. It says, I am sorry I cannot attend your annual meeting because my science class is floating the Missouri this weekend. Thank you so much for the scholarship. I will be using it to pursue a degree in chemical engineering at MSU Bozeman next year. Thank you for being so involved with the youth and caring for us. It means a lot to know people support my decisions and are willing to help. And Scott was also one of our ambassadors to the 2009 Capital Connection Youth Tour. So a remarkable young man. I bet you will be seeing good things from him in the future as well. The next thing we have is scholarships. We have 9. Anybody else that is a member or member dependent that's going to a college and wants to put their name in the hat? We've got them all here, and we're ready to draw. How we're going to do this is we're going to draw first for one $500 scholarship. If you want to come up here, say something, you're more than welcome to, or we can have you do that after the meeting as well. So the first one is for $500. The second one's for $500. There's a $300 and a $200. And then if just for showing up, if you don't win the big ones, you get a $100 one. So thank you for coming up. Okay. Ready?
Let's do draw.
Stu? And the first one is from, I believe she's going to Montana State University. She majors in fine art, and she's a 2007 graduate from Havre High School. Justine Munson. Justine Stan, yay, congratulations.
Does she need that?
Pardon? Nope, I need this. Okay, second one's $500. Got it. The next is a bright young man from also the Havre High School era 2008, studying physics, mathematics at Montana State University. Casey Donovan. Dan. Congratulations, Casey. Okay, this is for $300. All right. Here's a young gentleman studying Ag Ed at Dawson Community College, and he is a 2009 graduate, Brad Duncan. Thanks, Brad, for coming. And one more, $200. Okay, and this is a $200 scholarship, and this is going to Amy McClellan. Amy, where are you? Do you want to stand? I happen to know that this isn't Amy's first degree because she's an amazing student. She is now going to be studying elementary education at MSU Northern, and we look for good things from her as well. Thank you again for all coming and bringing your students, and we wish them the best in their educational career. I think that's all I got for you.
You want this?
We can just leave it there.
Okay. Kev, do you want to read the others that get the $100?
Oh. Good idea. You want me to talk more? Yes, we should recognize them because they're all exciting. I think this is the record number of entrants, so good things this year. We have a gentleman studying MSU Northern diesel mechanics. That's Lane Wade. And Lane is a 2010 graduate from Havre High School, and he will be receiving $100. We have, Lane, did you stand? We have Alba Haldeman, and let's see, we are 2007 graduate from Chinook High School, and she's going to, is it Dordt College? Did I say that right? and studying accounting. Oh, and this is neat. She says she's planning on becoming a CPA and running the ranch. And we have John Kelly, and John is a 2009 graduate of CJI, studying chemistry at Montana Tech. And we also have Jordan Bruff, who you've met, who's going to be studying electrical technology at MSU Northern, and he is a 2009 graduate of Havre High School. Jordan, get another $100. Thanks, Fritz.
Jake Myers.
Jake, did I say you? I saw you in here. Oh, Jake, you're sweating, weren't you? You're like, what? I was the first kid here. I got up the earliest. Yes, we have Jake Myers with us, and Jake is studying mechanical engineering at Montana State, and he's a 2010 graduate from Havre High School, or soon to be. Great. I feel bad for him.
I do want to thank each and every one of you that came. It shows that you are interested in school and you are interested in your cooperative. I know your parents probably made you come, but we do appreciate you being here. At this time, I'd like to introduce our special guest from our statewide, Jim Smith, if you'd stand. From Central Montana Electric Cooperative, Doug Hardy. On our political side, Commissioner Greg Jurgensen. From our engineering firm, Russ Malsom. And also Jim Zand. Our past trustees, Dale Sculler from Big Sandy. From the telephone side, we have Tom Bangs, Berlin Reichel, past Hill County Electric employees, Barry Kinsella, our legal counsel, Jim Kays, and a visiting guest, which is one of my mentors, Rick Brown from Valley Rural Electric down in the valley. Thanks for coming. Next, I'd like to call on Mark Majors to give us our financial report.
Thank you, Fritz. Good morning to everyone and welcome to this year's annual meeting. I'm going to take just a couple of minutes to go over Hill County Electric's financial statements. If you'd like to follow along, they're on pages 5 and 6 of the little booklet that was mailed out to you. We'll start on page 5, which is the balance sheet. Hill County Electric's balance sheet remains very solid. We ended the year with total assets of over $25.5 million. A good indicator of the strength of a company's balance sheet is its equity ratio. And Hill County Electric ended 2009 with an equity ratio of 51.3%, well ahead of the statewide average of about 40%. Another balance sheet ratio we like to keep our eye on is our debt to total assets ratio. This ratio was 42.9% for 2009. In 2009, Hill County Electric invested over $2 million back into our plant. A few of the larger projects in 2009 included: we replaced 5 miles of underground line with overhead west of Big Sandy, rebuilt 2 miles of 3-phase line south of Virgil, completed the 3-phase upgrade to East End Colony. We added a control building and new 69 kV breaker at the North Guilford sub, as well as upgraded the relays on the existing breaker. We replaced 2 miles of underground line with overhead south of Virgil through Crow Coulee, and we started our conversion from the Turtle metering system to the Cannon metering system. We changed out approximately 1,550 meters that serve consumers out of the Rocky Boy, Colony Bay, Gooseville, Virgil, North Guilford, and Big Sandy substations. These were just a few of the many projects that Hill County Electric was busy working on in 2009. Next, let's take a look at the income statement on page 6. As you can see, 2009 was another good year for Hill County Electric. Looking at our operating statement, we can see that our total operating revenues were up in 2009 to over $10.2 million. All sources of revenue remained strong. Our two largest segments were commercial and industrial at about $5.6 million, followed by rural service at almost $4 million. On the other side of the ledger, our total operating expenses increased by about 11.8%. The largest increases in our expenses was our cost of power. If we take the cost of power out, our other expenses increased by about 4%. Total margins increased in 2009 to $896,371. Our total margins were considerably higher than we anticipated, and I'd like to give you a quick explanation as to why. If I can find where it was. In April we had a rate increase in April of 2008, and after that rate increase, we noticed about a 3% drop in electric usage. Our largest user, Express Pipeline, had been decreasing their usage since 2006. With another increase in our rates on January 1st, 2009, we anticipated another decrease for that year. As it turned out, we had increases in every rate class, including Express Pipeline, with an overall total increase of 4.5%, making 2009 a record year for power sales. So with the unexpected increase in sales, we experienced higher total margins than we had forecasted. Although our wholesale power costs increased again January 1st of 2010, and it appeared that another rate increase would be needed at that time, we postponed the increase until later in the year. It is not the intent of our cooperative to raise rates any higher than absolutely necessary. The Hill County Electric Board of Directors and management have worked hard to maintain the financial strength of the cooperative while keeping your rates as reasonable as possible. This was just a quick summary of Hill County Electric's financial position for 2009. If anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to try and answer them at this time. Seeing no questions, I'll turn this back over to Fritz. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. We do appreciate it. And we did have a good year, like he said. Instead of decrease in power usage, we had an increase, which is not normally the case after you've had an increase. So with that, I'd like to introduce our board. I know most of you know them all, but I'd still like to introduce them. Sitting next to me is Stu Smith. He's our vice president. And his wife, Les. Next to him is Lon Wade, secretary-treasurer, and his wife, Stacy. Next to him is Merle Belcourt. And at the end of the table is Gerald Rutledge and his wife, Linda. With that, I would like to call on our Central Montana Electric Cooperative Manager, Doug Hardy, to give you a few words. This is where we buy our power from.
Good morning. Kind of an interesting intro in. I come right after the financial report and they say your rates went up because your power costs went up, and that's, I deliver the power to you guys. So I'd like to dispute that, except for I can't. I can tell you why and what the future may bring, and that's what I'd like to do very briefly. The power supply that we aggregate for Hill and several other, about a third of the state geographically, co-op power supply, comes from three sources. Comes from Western Area Power, off Fort Peck and so forth, and that's our lowest cost resource. Although it's our lowest cost resource, it was a driver of our rate increase last year that we had to pass through. The reason they went up isn't that they did anything management-wise other than the weather. They didn't manage to get enough rainfall to fill the reservoirs Actually, last year it was good rainfall, but it filled the reservoirs. Filling reservoirs doesn't generate electricity. It's when the water runs out of the reservoirs through the turbines that gives us electricity. We thought maybe we would be able to get a little bit of relief on that. When they don't generate enough, they have to go to the market, buy the power, and spread those costs over a 10-year period. So we're paying for those costs of a number of years of drought that hopefully we're coming out of. I think that portion of our supply, unless it gets much worse later in the summer, will be pretty flat this year. We won't see increases on that. Great news. I do not see any scenario where this year and on 2011 we would have another similar increase that we did last year. We absorbed as much as we could last year of the increase from WAPA, but we're just like Hill County. We're a member-owned not-profit. If I end up getting too much cash from the different co-ops, we kick it back into bill credit to where, to the best degree we can, we keep it in your pockets rather than some banker's pocket. Another source of power we get right now that fulfills our needs is Bonneville Power. We were able 9 years ago to get Bonneville Power at a very low cost power supply, but the only reason we got it is because people hadn't taken it in the West. Everybody thought natural gas was going to be real cheap generation and release some of it. We were, through a unique clause of law, because generally they can't sell this far east of the Continental Divide, we received a fairly nice allocation from Bonneville. That expires next year. It's been ramping down for a couple of years, so that power is about 3.2 cents, is being replaced with power from Basin Electric, which I'll talk about in a second, which is about 4.2. So that chunk, although it's a smaller portion of the power of supplies, goes up a little bit. That's something we have to deal with this year. As we know, next year we're going to buy a lot more kilowatt hours of a little over 4 cent power rather than a little over 3 cent power. So hopefully we'll be able to do some things that will allow us to not have to do much of a pass-through of rate. Mother Nature, to a degree, will determine that. Basin Electric will have some increase, not a very big increase this coming year. They don't anticipate. That power is mainly coal-fired, which I'll talk about the implication of that. The good news is coal-fired is some of the absolutely cheapest power traditionally we could get. We were, government pushed us to go coal-fired rather than natural gas because they believed natural gas was more limited, and that was the direction where they went. And it gave us a wonderful supply of low-cost power. We were generating for like 2 cents a kilo, just over under 3 cents a kilowatt hour on our existing generation plant. Fuel cost is only a little over 1 cent a kilowatt hour. So one thing we've done at Basin in the last part is integrated a lot of wind. Now, you don't see our wind generation over here, and there's a very, very distinct reason. On the other side of the state, the far end of the state, is a totally different grid electrically, totally isolated. And we have a lot of generation on that side. You can fit wind in with that generation at a lower cost. And frankly, the tax picture is different on that side. We're able to get wind power generated for 3/4 to 1.5 cents cheaper over there than we could right here. But the practical matter is we don't have a way to integrate it here that we did over there. That's why in the Dakotas is where, and Wyoming, well, mostly the Dakotas, is where that wind generation went. But 700 megawatts, a lot of it, and that's a portion of your supply. So your supply is fairly renewable, with the hydro being, in our minds, all renewable. And that's about 65% of what you see in your rate is that hydro piece from Western Area Power. So to hone it down, bottom line is we'll have a little bit of increase in Central Montana's costs, and we'll know towards the end of the year if we'll be able to absorb that in or if we'll have to pass a little bit of that through to the members. So cost control is an important thing, I think, to everybody. You can say, well, okay, Mother Nature, you can't control that. What are you doing on other aspects? A substation feeds Assiniboine, or it's called several different things. We call it the Assiniboine sub, but Heron Park is another name for a different part of it. What we did is we partnered with Hill County, all the rest of the co-ops of Central Montana, and we did an upgrade there. It was an expensive upgrade, but it pays for itself in a few years. What it does is it bypasses a ride across Northwestern Energy's poles and wires. So by being able to hook up to a power line from the Western Area Power directly, we eliminated enough charges on that line to pay for the cost of this line in about somewhere around 12, 15 years, depends on the loads at Heron Park or Assiniboine Sub, whichever we want to call it. As a result, when we get that amortized off, we'll be saving the members thousands of dollars every month. And we're looking for every opportunity that's cost effective on your behalf to do that sort of thing. Staffing, we went to complete electronic on all the communications from Central, and you wouldn't think that'd be that big of a deal, but what it does do is it allowed us to go from a 50% less staffing. And, you know, I love the employees, but if there's not anything for them to do, you know, that's an issue. So we had retirement and cut basically our staffing in half. So those are things that we've done internally at Central Montana, because what is absolutely definitive, I managed a co-op to Park Electric, another Central member for years, down in the Livingston area, and I had my annual meetings here, and I know how Rick feels when it comes time to increase rates or not. Very frugal. We know that the money that we spend comes out of yours and other members' pockets around the state, and we try to respect that to a great degree and get the most bang for the buck for those dollars that we ask you to provide us for the delivery of your power. And with that, sir,
Thank you.
I'm done. Thank
Any
you.
questions?
I did forget to introduce his wife, Cindy. She came along with him today. Would you stand, Cindy? It's the membership's duty to approve the financial report, and I did not ask for the membership to approve that financial statement. There is a motion. Is there a second? Second. There's a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same sign. So carried. Next, I'd like to call in Jim Smith from our statewide. He's going to come up and give you a little presentation.
Thank you, Fritz. Hello there. Nobody knows who the guy from statewide is unless he says that he's the editor of Rural Montana. Then everybody understands that perfectly. I get a lot of phone calls down there in Great Falls about rural Montana. Every now and then I get one that says, in this tone of voice, I want to speak to that there editor of Rural Montana. Whenever I get that phone call, I say, what do you want to talk about? I'll see if he's in. That guy usually wants to tell me that I'm not very smart. Maybe not, but I'm smart enough to know when there's a dinner of roast beef and ham in the back of the room, you don't talk very long. I also get a lot of letters. We have more than 100,000 readers. Well, we have actually more than 100,000 subscriptions, and probably 2 to 3 times that in terms of readership per household. And I get a lot of letters, and many of them do not agree with our editorial position. And of course, with 100,000 people, you'd have to be worried if everybody did agree with you. A recent one, a guy called or wrote to say that I agree with the letter writer that you put in there who said that you are an idiot. And he said, I want you to know that if I think that for every letter you get like this, there's probably 2 or 3 others that think the same thing. And I certainly hope that he's right about people who communicate in writing, because it's my pleasure to inform you that the postcard campaign that we ran in rural Montana last month, asking you to send postcards to pull them out and send them to our national that would then be hand-carried to our delegation from Montana. As of this point, and we're only 10 mailing days into the month, there are more than 10,000 cards from Montana back in Washington, D.C. from you. Give yourselves a big applause. I've got a picture in this coming month's magazine of mail flats with stacks and rubber bands full of those postcards. And our CEO, Dave Wheelhand, wanted me to make sure to tell you that it's not too late. Hill County has provided cards for you, and even if you've already sent those in, we abide by the philosophy of ACORN, which is vote early and often. Fritz asked me if I wanted to take any questions, and frankly, I don't want to take any questions. It always leads to trouble when you open that door, especially if you're on the western side of the state. However, I'll be around for a while, and I do want to thank you for the invitation to come here. I have a lot of friends in this area. Well, actually, I have the Lon Wade family, and that's a lot of friends, so that's it. Thank you very much for your invitation.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you, Jim. And thanks, Doug. We appreciate you guys' report. Next, I'd like to call on our Vice President, Stu Smith, to give you a little update.
Here I am, just another one of those idiot Smiths, I guess. But hard act to follow with Jim. Does a very good job for us. I'd like to welcome you all to our annual meeting again this year. Thanks for taking time off from your spraying and everything. A lot of things that people want to be doing this day. Yeah, the past year was another interesting year for us all. And like always, it's our main goal to provide affordable and reliable electricity for all of us as consumers, which gets a little bit tougher all the time, it seems like, with the renewables and wind and stuff, which are a little bit more expensive than coal, and their prices going up. And one thing, it seems like there gets to be a misconception or whatever on what is affordable. They're kind of raking it around in D.C. and all over of get to a point of what is affordable electricity, and what's affordable to one sure isn't the same to another one, and I don't know how they're going to get that all under control, but you got to write to your congressman and email them and everything and tell them that you know, we aren't the same as some back east, and we certainly aren't the same as some that can pass those rates on down, but it all ends up hitting us, the end user, with our groceries and our fertilizer and fuel and everything else. Those rates, they say, yeah, they don't care about the rates because they just pass them on down to us. So we really get hit many times with the rates. So let them know what you think. And one way that we all can help is to have everything a little as efficient as we can, and that don't have to have all the lights on and have the insulation, and we have programs going on to help with that. As far as reliable, the past few weeks it's kind of hard to, we can't really fight against Mother Nature too much, you know. We sure as the heck do our best, but you just don't know what's going to happen from one year to the next. And I would really stress the importance of having generators. I know I got mine, and it's hooked up all the time. And everybody says, man, you're on the board. Don't you trust that? I don't trust Mother Nature, you know, and it's sure nice to have that out there to start up and so I can have my juice keep going. But when you do put them up, you got to know that you got to put the double throw switch on to protect our linemen, and besides, it's a loss. So I hope that everybody, you know, you can't go out when you have a big electric storm and say, I'm going to run to town to get a generator. They usually don't have them, or they're sold out. A lot of people are finding out. So with that, I just hope and pray that we have another good year, and very best for all of us. And if any of you ever have any questions to any of us on the board, feel free to call us anytime. And if we don't have the answers, we will sure find somebody who does. So have a good year, and see you next year.
Thank you, Stu. Next, I'd like to call on Lon Wade, Secretary.
Good morning, everybody. I'd like to introduce my family here to you this morning. Here's my wife, Stacy, sitting here. My oldest daughter, Lindsay, is in Bozeman. She's still in school down there. My eldest boy, Lane's graduating from high school. He's in the back. And we have Lonnie and Loy. And I also brought my mother, Betty, here with us this morning. I'm not going to take a lot of your time this morning. I'm just going to give you a little bit of my perspective on some politics and how politics affect each and every one of us, and how they have since the advent of the REA. When they started the Rural Electric Association, to me those were forward-thinking people, you know, and that they knew that that rural America had to be electrified to progress and to go on. So they gave us the ability to do that. They gave us the funding. 65 years ago, our forward-thinking people right here in this community started this co-op, putting the lines in, hanging the wire. They weren't thinking about the political side of things. They were thinking about rural America and getting power to the people, power to the countryside. As we progressed and as we got power, you all know that we financially were a lot more successful and whatnot. So then that's when the politics started. Then once we start paying more taxes and whatnot, then they're wanting something from us, and they want a little more for us, and the forward thinking to me seems like it starts getting shorter and shorter. And as we progress to this day and age, it's, in my opinion, very short. Everybody's worried about their own pockets and whatnot, and have forgot about thinking about the future and thinking about our children and our grandchildren, and more worried about maybe about getting as climate change issues and whatnot, getting the 60 votes that they need to get a climate change legislation in and whatnot. Not really, in my opinion, thinking ahead of what is all this going to do to our children. And I would just like you to know that this board and myself, we are thinking to the future for this company, and we want to make certain that this company is strong in the future and that it will be here for our children and our grandchildren. And with that is our commitment to this, and I would just suggest for everybody's commitment out there is change it. Run for office. Any one of you or all of you should consider running for an office, and anywhere from local, city, county, state, national, get involved. Run for an office. And if you're not willing to run for an office, choose somebody that you feel that is forward-thinking, and encourage them to run for office. Get four people thinking in there. Help them financially. And last and most of all is get out there and vote. That is the one thing that we still have control of, is we can get out there and vote in every election and make sure that our views are known. So hopefully we can get everybody thinking to the future, thinking about our children and our grandchildren. With that, have a good meal. Enjoy the day. Have a good year. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to call on Merle Belcourt.
Thanks, Fritz. It's good to see you all again, especially on such a nice day. It's a good crowd for it. I don't know if there's much left for me to say after Lonnie gets up here, but as I was coming in today, I was listening to the radio, and I heard a story about one of our neighboring states. It was execution day, and there was 3 ladies that were scheduled to face the electric chair. They called the first lady up, got her in a chair, strapped her down, hooked her up. Warden asked, "Do you have anything to say, any last words?" Well, she said, "I am innocent, but I was born and raised a Christian, and I've been faithful. My Creator will see me through this." So they reached over and threw the switch. Nothing happened. The warden stepped up, and state law says that we have a duty to do, and if we fail, it says you're a free woman. And so they unstrapped her and turned her loose. They called the next lady up, strapped her down, hooked her up. "Do you have anything to say?" She said, "I am innocent also, but I'm a graduate from the University of Texas. I graduated with a degree in law. And I have faith in our justice system. I think it will prevail. That's all I have to say. They threw the switch, and again, nothing happened. The warden says you're a free woman. Third one, called her up, sat her down. She happened to be a blonde. But hooked her up. Do you have any last words? She said, I'm a graduate from the University of Alabama. I graduated with a degree in electronics, and you're not going to electrocute anybody if you don't plug this chair in. And I don't know really if being blonde had anything to do with it. I think the state was conserving electricity. And that's the name of the game, people, is conserve wherever you can. Let's keep them rates down. Let's turn the shortages around. Your trustees here have been battling for you on the local level and the national level, and they've had a few victories in these battles. But the war is not over yet. So we need your help. Call on your congressional people, join the grassroots efforts, call your trustees. They will get the word out. And with that, I'll just say, keep conserving. Thank you.
Thank you, Merle. Next, I'd like to call on Gerald Rutledge.
Boy, I don't know. Those are a couple tough acts to follow. So don't expect anything drastic here. And I'd just like to thank you all for coming on a very nice day. It's nice to see things green, and we're wetter than we've been in a long time. And as everybody said, we had a better year than expected, and I hope we can hold the rates for another year. And there really isn't much more for me to say, except that if any of you have concerns, feel free to call on any of the board. As individuals, we can't solve your problems, but we can make sure that your concerns are taken seriously. And on a somber note, I tell you, we really miss Cheryl Carlson. She was one of a kind, and I know she's here with us today. So, God bless you, Cheryl. And I guess that's all I have to say. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. I have had the privilege of serving with these four other people, and I'd just like to tell you how much they are involved. Stu Smith sits on our statewide board. Lon Wade sits on the publications board, so if Jim can't answer it, you call Lon. Merle Belcourt sits on the tribal issues committee, and Gerald Rudge sits on the Northwest Public Power Association. So they all do their job. They are tremendously involved. They do believe in what they're doing. And with that, I think we need to give them a round of applause. Two weeks ago, we were back in D.C., and I know I've reported to you in the past, but one of the things that we were asking for is our president in his budget wanted to cut $2.5 billion out of the RUS program. That's very important to rural electrics across this nation. It's a way they can borrow money, but not only is it a way they can borrow money, but bankers will lend them money knowing that they can go and get it secured from RUS. That's where we get our money to operate in. And yes, we do get a little better interest rate, but for them to cut $2.5 million out of that budget was crazy, because this year alone, that program will pay back to the federal treasury $63 million. And that's money. That's money coming out of your pockets, because we're paying them loans back, we're paying interest on them. And so to cut something out of the budget that's going to hurt them doesn't make sense. So we asked our congressional delegation to support putting that $2.5 billion back in. And I do think it will get back in. Both our senators had the feeling that it would get put back in. Maybe not at the full 2.5, but they do think they'll get it. The other thing is we talked about was clean air. And that's the reason we want you involved as a grassroots, because this is a real problem. We don't like greenhouse gases, but one way or the other, we are going to be regulated. And if we don't do it through Congress, which we think is a much better way to do it, EPA is going to do it. And EPA is going to have tough, stringent, and everybody's going to apply. So we're asking our congressional delegations not to let them, EPA, do greenhouse gases. It's very important, because if they do it, we have no way of changing it unless we go back through Congress and have them take it out of their hands. And so we want to do it before they get it in their hands. Right now, they have considered greenhouse gases dangerous to the health. What I don't understand, without greenhouse gases, this country would not be green, because it's the carbon in the air that makes our grasses green, our wheat green. We don't think it's dangerous to the health, but they do. And if we don't get legislation passed or something to stop EPA, by next year we will be under EPA rules and regulations. So we will be, and it's going to hurt every one of us, because it's going to raise our rates, because you're going to pay for that cleanup, as they call it. The last thing that we really tried to get across to, I know our representatives understand what cooperatives are, but there's a lot of states that are getting more urban, and they are forgetting what the cooperative really is, what the principle is. And so we wanted to make sure everyone that we visited knew what cooperative was, why we're there. We're there for you, the members. We don't make a profit on it. It's to serve you the best way we know how, and this board has done a tremendous job, I feel, trying to keep the rates down. But with all the regulations that are coming, and as Doug explained to you earlier, with the water being low, they're buying that expensive energy. Another fallacy is wind. Everybody says it's free. The wind is free, but it does a lot of damage. As you that have lost power this last couple of weeks know what it does. And it does the same thing to a windmill. If it gets too high, they have to shut them off. So are you willing to go intermittently on energy? I know you won't, because when it's 100 degrees out and you want the air conditioner on and we say we don't have no power, what are you going to do? So we got to blend it in, we got to do it, and wind isn't the answer all the way across. It's only, the most they could ever get is 6% of the energy across this nation. That's all they could generate with the wind that we have. No matter how many more they build, it just isn't there. 52% of our energy comes from coal-fired. About 8 to 10% comes from renewables of not wind, but solar, biofuels, and this kind of stuff. And the rest of it comes from nuclear. So our two largest energy sources is nuclear and coal. And if you want to shut them down, we're in trouble. In the Northwest, we're lucky. We have hydro. But there's a lot of part of this country that don't have hydro. And so they're paying a lot more. BPA just went out for a wind RFP. The cheapest rate they got was 14 cents. Now, you don't even pay half of that, about half of that, or a little over, in your true energy cost. But if we had to pay 14 cents to get it, we'd have to charge you probably 20 cents a kilowatt to use it. So we do need you guys to support us in the grassroots effort. As Jim said, all them cards were in there. I am glad to hear that many were sent back, but I'd like to see a lot more. We have 515,000 across this nation that have sent letters in. So 10,000 does help that, but we need more. We serve a lot of people in Montana, and so we need you to fill them cards out, send them in to your representatives. I know they get tired of seeing all these stacks of paper come in, but it gets the message across, and we need you guys as grassroots. When Glenn went in with the Clean Air Bill, our CEO of NRECA, the first thing he told everybody that was in there, if you're going to use grassroots, we want true grassroots. We don't want AstroTurf. And I'm going to give you an example of what he's talking about. Senator from South Carolina got a card that was signed by him. And he said, who signed this? And he said, well, it's your signature, isn't it? And he said, no, it must have been one of my staffers, because he said, I didn't sign this. And it was a grassroots effort on the oil petroleum. And his signature was on it. He said, I never signed it. He said, I would never sign that. He said, because I do support my rural electrics. But he said, that's what AstroTurf is. They just go through and get a computer list, and they send it to their congressional delegation. And so it is stopped now. You have to prove. And so if somebody calls you and asks if you sent that card, you better have sent it, because that's how important it is. We need your help, not a computer data. We really want you, the individual owners of this cooperative, to send that card. With that, I thank you. Next, I'd like to call on Daryl Sather.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The 2010 Hill County Electric Nominating Committee met on March 18th at 10:30 a.m. for most of us. We had a latecomer, but he did make it. All people were present, which is pretty outstanding. I feel this committee took its responsibilities rather well. I am not a shy person, so they elected me chairman of the committee. Those in attendance were, I'll call him Terry Turner, Tim Kimmett, Wally Duscher, Bert Owens, Leroy Keller, Lois White, Kelly Rutledge, and Bernie Goley. And again, they elected me the president. The nominations for District 1 Eastern Service Area were Lon Wade. Being there were no further nominations, we unanimously carried Lon as our nominee. Nominations were closed, and we concluded our meeting on May 15th. There was a 30-day grace period for write-ins, and we received no write-ins, and therefore Lon Wade will be our representative for nomination to the committee. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Daryl. And I'd like to call in Jim Kays now to handle the election.
Good morning, everyone. First, want to thank all of you for allowing me and my law firm to be of service to this cooperative, and I want to thank the board for that opportunity as well. Your nominations procedure is set forth in your bylaws. Section 4.06 says that you can nominate by committee, which you've just heard that report, and it nominated Lon Wade for District 1. You can also nominate by petition, and that has to be accomplished 30 days in advance of this meeting, and there were no nominations by petition. And you can also nominate from the floor. And as you know from attending past meetings, we call for nominations from the floor at this time. And I will do so. Are there any nominations from the floor? Once again, any nominations from the floor? Remind you, if you do nominate from the floor, the person must be from District 1. Any nominations from the floor? Last call. Seeing none, I'll inform you that Section 4.03 of your bylaws also says that if the number of nominees does not exceed the number of trustees to be elected, that you can, if you wish, waive secret balloting and elect the person by acclamation. Would you like to do so? All right, there is a motion to waive the secret ballot and elect the nominee by acclamation. Is there a second? The motion is made and seconded. All in favor of that motion, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Same sign. Motion is carried. Lon Wade is elected. Thank you very much.
Normally, it's our thing that we asked if the people running want to get up and say anything. We didn't ask Lon if he wanted to, but with him winning by a landslide, I'd ask if he has anything to say now.
Just thank you, everybody, and I'll continue to try to do my best.
Next, I'd like to call on our general manager, Rick Stevens, to give the manager's report. Rick has done this for a few years. Mary's played the music for many years, so thank you both very much.
I realize this is a difficult part of the program. I'm probably the last one standing between you and lunch, so I will try not to...
No, the gifts.
And the gifts, that's right. Probably more important, but I will try not to take too much time, but there are a few things that we need to cover today, so I will attempt to be as brief as I can. It has been a very busy year. John Taylor, I know you were right back in here. John, will you stand, please? John is our engineering and operations manager. Just want to make sure everyone, if you haven't met John, please introduce yourself. But right back here in the at least my far right, probably your left, depending on where you are on the table, but there is a drawing or a board back there where we have a couple maps laid out. One gives the layout of where the meter installations, how those are going to be going to transpire over the next couple of years, as well as the projects that are on board for this year, especially this year, and outward into the work plan. We've got a 4-year work plan we're working on, but many of those projects are on that board. If you are interested in what is going to be happening in your area, please look at that board. John can explain to you where we do have projects planned. Now, the last few months, we have had several projects planned that have not proceeded as planned. We have been doing a lot of unplanned construction and maintenance, as many of you are well aware. And we still have some of that to do. As Sage Creek Colony can attest to, there's still some work to be done up in that northwest corner of the system, as well in the southeast. That's what the difficulty was this last storm. We were on opposite ends, literally opposite ends of our network. The northwest corner and the southeast corner made life a little interesting for us. But we did our best to get the lights back on as quickly as possible, and thank you for being so patient, and for all of those that helped. We will be publishing names as well, but thank you for all of those that helped in getting the crews around, helping them slodge through the snow, the ice, the mud, but to get the lines back up and the power back on again. Without you, that would have been a much, much more difficult process. So thank you for all of the help that you provided. You also heard from Mark Majors about the financial condition of the cooperative. Last year was a good year. We did not want to institute a rate increase any sooner than absolutely necessary. This year, unfortunately, sales are down, costs are up with all of the storm damage and everything else we've had. But the good news is we still have delayed the rate increase based on how well we did last year. We are riding the wave of that for a little bit into this year, but it does look like we will probably need a rate increase early in the fall, maybe September, October timeframe. We will be talking to the board about that, and once we have their approval, then we will be getting the word out. But just wanted to give you fair warning that it is our goal to keep the cooperative financially sound, and we will do our best to do that. But at the same time, as you have heard from this board, it is our primary goal to keep the rates as reasonable as possible. And you have heard that the highlights of the youth in our cooperative. That has probably been something that gives us the most joy. The greatest benefit to the cooperative is to highlight the young people that are here, that are in our service areas. Too many times you hear about the bad things that are going on in the world and the things that our kids do that probably aren't so good. We want to highlight the good things that they are accomplishing, and on our Power of Youth Awards, we do that every month. The thing that probably hurts the most is that there are so many quality kids out there that we have to pick one. That's probably the most difficult part of that whole process, is narrowing it down. But I just want to let you know that there are a number of quality kids, and what they are doing in our service areas, all of the commitment that they have made to their school, to their community, to their local area, it is commendable. And when we put those names in our newsletters and highlight that to you, if you know those kids, please let them know that you appreciate what they're doing. They are the cooperative of tomorrow, and we want to highlight what they're doing, commend them, and we would ask you to pat them on the back as well. Those are the ones that we want to make sure know that we appreciate them and want them to be a vital part of the cooperative of tomorrow. As Lon said, they are the ones that are extremely important. We want to make sure that they realize how important they are and how much we appreciate what they do on behalf of each one of you, and how important that will be to the future of the cooperative. So tell them what a great job they are doing. And the co-op will continue to support those programs, Power of Youth, 4-H programs, all of the other types of youth programs. Our youth day at the co-op that we just had a number of kids there. Weather wasn't the greatest this year, but still had a number of kids at the co-op. We try to do those things that bring them in and have a good time for them so that they can understand more of the cooperative philosophy and what we do for them. You also heard from Doug Hardy some of the difficulties we're having as far as power supply, costs of power supply. In the last 6-7 years, I know our costs have gone up over 60%, our cost of power, and you can see on that report that's a significant part of our cost of doing business. It makes it very difficult for us not to have rate increases when you have that significant of an increase in your cost of doing business. So yes, we have passed that along. As Stu pointed out, not only do you get it passed along from us, but we understand you get it passed along in your power bill, your fuel bill, your fertilizer bill, your cost of groceries, everywhere you go. So we are trying to mitigate that as much as possible, but unfortunately we can only control those costs so much as well. But we are out there on your behalf. This board is working hard for you, but we also need your help. We need your help in ensuring that we get the word out. One of the things that's going on back in Congress is climate change and what is happening there as far as a carbon tax. What are the other things coming out in the potential things coming out in the very near future? Even if Congress doesn't act, will the EPA and the Environmental Protection Association or agency act and implement regulations aside from Congress? Whichever way, we lose because the costs get drilled back to us. And as Stu pointed out very well, you are the ones that end up the ultimate payer of those bills. That's the unfortunate thing. That's why those cards sitting on that table are so important. It's not just us going back and telling the people in Washington, D.C. what we believe. They already know what we think. They need to know what you think. Those cards will tell them, yes, we believe that rates are high enough in our rural areas. We believe that there are ways to accomplish climate change, climate control, emission control. There are ways to do that without breaking the bank, but we need your voice in that. Our voice isn't enough, and that's why our grassroots effort is so critical, and especially so critical right at this point in time. We are on the cusp of some major changes. We need your help to ensure that Congress understands enough is enough. You can only pay rates that are so high, and if they implement climate change, institute an additional carbon tax, that potentially puts it way over the edge, and we're saying that is not reasonable. There's got to be a common sense approach put back into the process. So please take those cards. If you haven't filled them out, fill them out. You can leave them on the table, we'll pick them up, or hand them to an employee, whichever. But I just ask you, fill out the cards. Take it a step further. When you go back home, those cards have been in the magazines that went to all of our members. Encourage your friends, your neighbors. If they haven't done so, fill out the card. Send it back in with your bill, but get the cards in the mail so that we can get them back to NRECA. It is critical that Washington, D.C. hears your voice. You are the ones that can really make a change or help to make a change back there so that they understand exactly what the people think and what you can do on your own behalf to help control rates. It's that critical. One other thing that I want to highlight is we also handed out a survey when each of you came in. We also want to know what you think about your cooperative, how we're doing. It's important to us to respond accordingly, and better yet, you'll even get a credit on your bill if you fill that survey out and hand it back in. Once again, you can leave that on the table or hand it to one of the employees. But your voice is critical to us. We want to know what you're thinking. So thank you, everyone, for coming. We appreciate you being here today. Enjoy the rest of the day. We'll try to get you out of here as quickly as possible. Thank you. But the one thing I do want to do, one more piece is just thank Rick Brown. He is the manager of Ravalli Electric Cooperative from down in the Stevensville, Hamilton area. He drove a long ways to come up here and visit us today. Thank you, Rick, for being here with us today. We appreciate that.
Thank you, Rick. Good report. I'd like to now call, is there any unfinished business that needs to come before the meeting? Hearing none, is there any new business that you'd like to? Darrell?
Mr. President, I'd like to bring the attention of the members of the co-op through some personal endeavors. We now have the teleconference room at the co-op a site for cancer patients and their families to have support as well as information given through the teleconferencing with the Billings Clinic. This is on a weekly basis. It was kind of a personal endeavor to get that set up, and it is functioning. We have a large room there, and I'd really like to see more people in attendance. As we all know of someone that's been touched by cancer, this gives us a chance to share with our neighbors and help all of us through this experience. Just want the membership to know that this is available, so those that are going through it now have support right here in our local. And thanks to the members of the co-op for making this available.
Thank you, Darrell. It is important. There's a lot of cancer in this area, and you do need some support at times, so don't feel bashful. Go up there and meet with them. Is there any other new business? No one has any questions? It's your opportunity. Hearing none, the meeting will be adjourned.